Hello student, welcome back to our MSc First Physics semester 2nd online course, that is Atoms and Molecules, and our subject code is PHCT 1 to 2, and this is our second lecture. And in our previous lecture we have started our fourth module, that is a resonance spectroscopy, and we have discussed about what do you mean by the spectroscopy, and also we have mentioned the two types of the resonance spectroscopy, that is ESR, that is electron spin resonance, and second one is the NMR, that is nuclear magnetic resonance. And we have started the first resonance spectroscopy, that is ESR, and we have studied about the ESR principle, that is actually how it works. That means the working principle of the ESR, and when we put a sample in the presence of magnetic field, what will happen, all those things we have discussed in our previous video. Now in this video we have to discuss about the ESR spectrometer. It is one of the topic of the our fourth chapter, that is a resonance spectroscopy. So ESR spectrometer is an instrument which is used to study the ESR spectra, or we get the ESR spectra with the help of this spectrometer. Now it consists of different components such as klystron, waveguide or wavemeter, after that attenuator, then isolators, different types of detectors, generally which is a crystal detector. After that there is a sample cavity. Now again the couplers and matching screw system, magnetic system, display devices, crystal detectors, these all are the number of components which have been used in a ESR spectrometer, so that we are able to get the ESR spectra. Now we will discuss about one by one component. So first is the klystron. Klystron tube acts as the source of radiation. That means the main source for the ESR is the microwave radiation. As already we considered it, the spectra of the or the microwave radiation is very useful for the ESR spectroscopy, or the ESR spectroscopy falls in the microwave region. So the klystron is used to generate or to give the microwave radiation. That means it acts as a source of radiation. It is stabilized against temperature fluctuation by immersion in an oil bath or by forced air cooling. That means it is also used as a stabilizer of the temperature, or it is used to stabilize the temperature fluctuation by immersion in an oil bath or by providing the forced cooling, air cooling. So it acts as like a temperature stabilizer, or it maintain a particular temperature with the help of forced air cooling system or by immersion in an oil bath. The frequency of the monochromatic radiation is determined by the voltage applied to the klystron. That means klystron, in the klystron there is a generation of the microwave radiation, and this microwave radiation has some particular frequency, and this frequency is controlled by the voltage applied to the klystron. It is kept at a fixed frequency by an automatic control circuit and provides a power output of about 300 milliwatts. That means when we kept this klystron for a particular frequency, or we fix a particular frequency on klystron, and this is done by an automatic control unit, and it provides a output, that is a power output, and which is in the order of 300 milliwatts. Now the second component is the waveguide or wavemeter. The name indicates that it is used for the measurement of the wavelength, or simply we can call it as a waveguide. The wavemeter is put in between the oscillator and attenuator. The components which are next to the klystron is the oscillator and attenuator, and the waveguide is placed in between them. Now after that To know the frequency of microwaves produced by klystron oscillator, the wave meter is usually calibrated in a frequency unit, that is a megahertz, instead of wavelength. We know that generally we can measure the wavelength of the radiation, but here the wave meter or waveguide is calibrated to measure the frequency instead of the wavelength, and this is calibrated for the frequency unit, and this frequency is in the order of megahertz because the microwaves has a frequency in the range of megahertz or gigahertz. Waveguide is a hollow rectangular brass tube. It is used to carry the wave radiation to the sample and crystal. It is a waveguide is nothing but the separate component which is a hollow component and in a rectangular form, that is a it is made up of like a brass tube, or it is in the hollow form, in the tabular form, and it is used to carry the microwave radiation from klystron to the sample and crystal. Now the third component is attenuators. The attenuators name indicate that it is used for the attenuation purpose, and it is a one type of the resistive material. So let's see. The power propagated down the waveguide may be continuously decreased by inserting a piece of resistive material into the waveguide. This piece is called as a variable attenuator. That means attenuator is actually a resistive material and which is inserted into the waveguide, and so that it is used for the attenuation of the microwaves, or it is used to attenuate the power of the microwave at a particular frequency. So this is the actually a variable attenuator. It is used in varying the power of sample from the full power of klystron to one attenuated by a force 100 or more. That means attenuator is actually used to attenuate the power of the radiation by varying the power of the sample. We can use it for various application, and this can be done with the help of by varying the force, that is 100 or more than that. Now after that, this is the schematic of the ESR spectrometer. That is, it consists of different components such as a source. After that there is a detector, and then these two are the electromagnet, and in between them there is a cavity, and in that cavity there is a sample cavity, so in which we can place a sample or matter or material which we have to investigate. Now these all are the two magnet, that is N pole and S pole, and this is the electromagnet. After that there is a modulation unit, and then there is a phase sensitive detector, and here is the detector. The detectors are used in ESR spectrometer are generally crystal detectors, and the source is a klystron which is used for the generation of the microwaves. So in this way we can arrange different components. After that there is a block diagram for the ESR spectrometer. This is the detailed view of the ESR spectrometer. It consists of different components such as a klystron isolator, attenuator, circulator, detector, klystron frequency controller. The klystron frequency controller used to control the frequency of the radiation which are generated from the klystron, and it gives to the detector. Here is a detector, and this is generally crystal detector. Then after that there are different components like isolator, attenuator, circulator. So these all are the basic components which is used to attenuate the frequency of radiation, and circulation is used to circulate that radiation, and it is given to the cavity, and the cavity in which the sample is placed, and this cavity is placed in between the strong magnetic field with the help of these two magnets. And after that, to control the magnetic field, we can vary the magnetic field in the ESR. But how? For that we have to vary the supply of the magnet so that we can vary the current, and due to change in the current there is a change in the magnetic field, and we kept a particular frequency constant, and according to that we get the ESR spectra. And again here is the amplifier and phase shift and phase sensitive detectors. After that there is a recorder. In order to get the spectra, these all are the different components which are used in a ESR spectrometer. After that there is a magnetic field modulation, magnetic field sweep generator. These all are the different components are used to obtain the ESR spectra, and with the help of all this assembly we are able to observe this ESR spectra, and we can study the characteristic of individual sample or material or matter with the help of ESR spectrometer. So this is the block diagram of the ESR spectrometer. Now after that the next component is the isolator. It's a device which minimize vibration in the frequency of microwaves produced by the klystron oscillator. Actually klystron is an oscillator which is used as a source of radiation, and we know that the radiation has particular frequency, but after generation of the radiation from the klystron there is some vibration in the frequency, and in order to minimize that vibration we can use the isolators. Isolators are used to prevent the reflection of microwave power back into the radiation source. After emission of the microwave radiation from the klystron, they may be get reflected. So in order to avoid that reflection we can use isolator. So we are able to conduct the radiation in only one direction. So it is a strip of ferrite material which allows microwaves in only one direction. That means the isolator is nothing but a strip of ferrite material, and which allows the microwaves in only one direction. It is also stabilized the frequency of klystron. That means it also stabilizes the vibration in the frequency of the radiation. Now the next component is the sample cavities. That means the sample cavity is very important in a ESR spectrometer. That is the heart of the ESR spectrometer is the resonant cavity sampling the sample. That means in ESR the main component or the main part is the sample cavity, in which we can place a sample or a material which we have investigate. Now there are different types of the sample cavities, but generally the rectangular and cylindrical cavities are used. The rectangular TE120 cavity and cylindrical TE011 cavity have been widely used. These are the two main cavities generally used in a ESR spectrometer. The next component is the, before going to start next component, in the most of the ESR spectrometers the dual sample cavities are generally used. This is done for simultaneous observation of a sample and reference material. Sometimes in ESR spectrometer there are two cavities, that is the cavities which are available to place the two different samples, and one of them sample acts as a reference and another acts as a original sample. So in order to investigate these two materials simultaneously we can use the two cavities. Since magnetic field interacts with the sample to cause a spin resonance, the sample is placed where the intensity of magnetic field is greatest. That means the arrangement of the cavity is done in a such way that which the cavity is placed at the center of the electromagnet, that is which is shown in the figure here. So this is the cavity and which is placed at the center of these two electromagnet. This is the N pole and this is the S pole. This is the electromagnet, and this electromagnet generates a strong magnetic field and uniform field, but at the center the field is strong, so the cavity is placed at the center of the two magnets or in between the center of the two electromagnets. So here we get the maximum magnetic field. So this magnetic field interact with the sample and we get the corresponding ESR spectra. Next component is the coupler and matching screws. The various components of the microwave assembly to be coupled together by making use of irises or slots of various sizes. That means these all are the different components which can be held in a particular one instrument. For that we require the coupler and matching screws. So these coupler and matching screws are able to hold all these components in a particular device or in a particular system. Now next component is the crystal detectors. Silicon crystal detectors which converts the radiation in DC has widely been used as a detector of the microwave radiation. In order to detect the microwave radiation, the different types of the detectors are used in ESR spectrometer, but in general the silicon crystal detector is used for the detection of the microwave radiation or for the conversion of the radiation into direct current. So this is the silicon crystal detector. Now next component is the magnet system. The resonant is placed between the poles of pieces of an electromagnet. The field should be stable, uniform over the sample volume. As already we mentioned, there is a electromagnet, that is N pole and S pole, in which the sample cavity is placed, and this sample cavity or this sample experience the magnetic field which is generated by the electromagnet, and this field should be stable and uniform over the sample. The stability of field is achieved by energizing the magnet with a highly regulated power supply. In a ESR we can vary the magnetic field and we kept the frequency at a particular value, or we kept the frequency constant. So in order to vary the magnetic field we have to vary the power supply of the magnet, so that we can vary the current and we get the varying magnetic field. The ESR spectrum is recorded by slowly varying the magnetic field through the resonance condense by sweeping the current supplied to the magnet by the power supply. That means if we vary the power supply, then there is a change in the current, and due to changing in the current there is a change in the magnetic field. So in this way we are able to change magnetic field, but we kept the frequency at a particular value. So this is the magnet system for the ESR spectrometer. Next component is the modulation coil. The modulation coil is used to control the frequency. The modulation of the signal at a frequency consists with a good signal noise ratio in the crystal detector is accomplished by a small alternating variation of the magnetic field. That means if we vary the magnetic field, we can modulate the signal at a frequency consistent with the good signal to noise ratio. That means if we have to obtain the good signal, then we have to obtain also the good signal to noise ratio. That means the noise is minimized, noise is less and signal is more, then we are able to obtain the good signal to noise ratio. So here is the modulation of this signal at a particular frequency is consistent with the good signal to noise ratio in the crystal detector. Then we are able to obtain the proper ESR spectra, and this is done by varying the magnetic field. The variation is produced by supplying an AC signal to the modulation coil oriented with respect to the sample in the same direction as the magnetic field. That means the direction of the magnetic field is in a particular direction. So here we can produce a variation by supplying a AC signal or AC current to the modulation coil. That means we are giving a AC signal to the modulation coil in order to oriented with respect to the sample in the same direction as the magnetic field. That means the the AC signal is given along the direction of the magnetic field, so that we are able to generate the variation in the modulation coil. If the modulation is of low frequency, that is 400 cycles per second or less, the coils can be mounted outside the cavity and even on the magnet pole pieces. That means if we have to modulate the low frequency, that is a frequency which is a 400 cycles per second or less than that, then we can mount a coil outside the cavity, that is outside the sample cavity, or even on the magnet pieces, because we are able we have only generate the low frequency. So for the low frequency there is no more effect on the magnetic field, but when we have to generate the higher modulation frequency, then we are not able to put the coils outside the cavity, but instead of that we have to put the coils inside the cavity, so that we get the maximum magnetic field for the higher modulation frequency. That is, for higher modulation frequencies, modulation coils must be mounted inside the resonant cavity or cavities constructed of non-metallic material. That means for the higher frequency modulation, we have to put the modulation coils inside the cavity, inside the resonance cavity, or another way, that is the cavity must be constructed with the non-metallic material like a quartz material with the tin silver plating. So this material is used instead of putting the coils in a resonant cavity, then and then we can achieve higher frequency modulation. So this is the modulation coil. Now next and last one component of the ESR spectrometer is the display device. In order to observe the ESR spectra, we require a particular display device. That is, in order to observe the signal, a system is connected to different devices can be used. That means in a ESR spectra, we get the peaks, and these peaks shows the different characteristics of that particular sample, and so in order to observe that spectra we need some display device. So there are different display devices are used according to the need. So this is all about the different components of the ESR spectrometer, or we can say that this is the basic construction for the ESR spectrometer. Now how it works? So working is the sample is placed in a resonance cavity which admits microwaves through an iris. That means already we mentioned in the diagram, there is a klystron which acts as a radiation source. After generation of the microwaves from the klystron, which is given to the sample through different components, the cavity is located in the middle of an electromagnet and helps to amplify the weak signals from the sample. We know that the cavity is placed at the center of the electromagnet, and due to electromagnet there is a magnetic field, and this magnetic field interact with the sample and we get the different signals, and these signals amplifies with the help of different devices, and the numerous types of diodes are sensitive to microwave energy. That means there are different there are different detectors and different types of diodes in a particular component is used to sense the microwave energy, so that according to that they record the ESR spectra. The absorption line are detected when the separation of the energy levels equal to the energy of the incident microwaves. As already we mentioned in our previous video, when the molecule or a compound or a sample placed in a magnetic field, then there is a splitting of the energy level according to the Zeeman effect. We know that the Zeeman effect, when we placed a material or a sample in a magnetic field, then there is a splitting of the energy level. So there is a splitting of the energy level, and due to this splitting of the energy level, there is a absorption at a particular frequency. That means if we place that sample in a magnetic field or in the presence of electromagnetic radiation, then there is absorption of radiation at a particular frequency. In ESR particularly, it is a microwave frequency. When this frequency gets absorbed, when the energy difference between the two energy states is equal to the photon of that radiation, so the absorption takes place at the resonance condition. As already we mentioned in our previous video, at the resonance condition, what happen? The photon of energy of microwave radiation gets absorbed. When this photon have energy, the energy difference between the two energy levels, and this occurs at the resonance condition, and this is the absorption lines in the ESR spectrometer. So in this way we get the spectra of the ESR. So this is the actual working of the ESR spectrometer. So here we get the intensity versus magnetic field graph, and here we get the peak, and this peak is corresponding for that absorption. And if we take derivative, that is, if the magnetic field is swept slowly over a period of several times, the recorder will show derivative of microwave absorption spectrum against the magnetic field as shown in a previous slide. That means if we take the derivative of microwave absorption spectrum, that means the first spectrum, that is the intensity versus magnetic field, if we take the first derivative of this spectrum, then we get the spectrum like this, that is the second spectrum, this spectrum. So here we get the derivative signal versus magnetic field spectrum. So here we get these two peaks, up peaks and down peak, for the same peak of the absorption of the ESR spectrum. So this is the in the form of derivative, and this is in the only form of the absorption at the resonance condition. So this is the ESR peaks or ESR spectra which we have been observed on the screen. So this is all about the construction of the ESR spectrometer and how we get the spectrum from the ESR spectrometer. So this is all about the ESR spectrometer, and this is very important in order to get the ESR spectra or in order to study the sample. Now after that there are some application of the electron spin resonance, that is a ESR. First application is the ESR spectroscopy is one of the main methods to study transition metal containing metalloproteins. That means the ESR is generally used in a chemistry. In chemistry we can study about the transition metal containing the metalloproteins with the help of ESR to determine the rate of catalysis. That means we know that there is in a compound there is a catalysis process, and if we want to measure the rate of catalysis, then we can use ESR spectroscopy to know about the active site geometry. It is also in a compound, that is if we want to know the active site in a geometry, then we can place that material in a sample cavity of the ESR spectrometer. Then we can study the geometry of that particular sample to study denaturation and protein folding in a studies relating to enzyme ligand reinteraction. After that, next application is in biological system. ESR is also used in a biological system. Study of free radicals, that means the compounds which consist of free radicals are generally used with the help or generally studied with the help of ESR spectroscopy. After that, the spin labels, that is ESR spectroscopy is generally related to the electron spin, so it is generally used for the study of spin labels. Study of inorganic compounds, that means in chemistry different inorganic compounds are studied with the help of ESR spectroscopy. Reaction velocities and mechanism is also studied with the help of ESR spectroscopy. Study of naturally occurring substances such as a mineral with the transition elements, minerals with defects, for example quartz, hemoglobin, that is a ferrous, petroleum, coal, rubber. These all are the different compounds. That means if we want to study the naturally occurring substances like a hemoglobin or in the form of ferrous, petroleum, coal, rubber, different types of the minerals with the defect, that is a quartz. So we can use for that ESR spectroscopy. Now conducting electrons. For the study of conducting electrons, we also use the ESR spectroscopy. So in this way, the ESR spectroscopy is used in a different way for the different applications. So these all are the different application of the ESR spectroscopy. So up to this we have covered all topics about the ESR spectroscopy or about the ESR spectra. Now in our next video we have to study how we get the hyperfine structure in the ESR. That means how there is a splitting of the energy level in the ESR. In ESR in general we accept only one peak, but in reality we get the two peaks. Then how we get these two peaks, all those things we have to study in our next video. Then in our next video we will start with the hyperfine structure of the ESR spectrum.